Alright, hi, I'm horceror, number one nemesis. You know all that. This video is going to be a little different because I'm annoyed. I'm not going to lie. A little bit of a Dead by Daylight balance type. Why do we just allow ourselves to continue to not get real updates to Dead by Daylight? I don't mean when we get a new chapter or a new cosmetic or anything like that. I mean balance changes that actually do something for the meta. When's the last time we actually got a patch that changed how the game played, or one that actually shifts the strength of meta perks that have been ran since 2017? Sprint Burst, a perk that is wholly meta defining, has been unchanged since patch 1.5.0, which is in 2017. That's 9 years ago. I've lived 10 different lives since then. Dead by Daylight has been having a perk creep issue for a long time, and it's seriously been putting me off the game as a player with 6,000 hours. And to be clear, I'm completely fine losing games when it feels deserved, but when I personally don't main an S tier killer and my chases last upwards of 30 seconds or more just because someone had sprint burst on, or they lithe and they have a window, or anything along those lines, it just kind of feels like shit. It's also really annoying when people that only play one side have such inflammatory opinions on game balance and what is healthy for the game and both sides. Like, yes, anonymous mode, the blight, please tell me more about how we should bring back one down insta-kill Moris. Yes, Anon mode, Ace Visconti, tell me more about how we should bring back BNPs that instantly complete generators. Or even Sabo, which could be 99'd on every single hook on the map. Yes, 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 that sounds awesome. The whole reason I'm making this video is because I had a game that is, well, it was on RPD, a map that is notoriously bad for RNG on a perk I was using, Scourgehook Pain Resonance. I literally had no point in the game where I could use this perk because no chase ended in range of a Scourgehook. My first chase of the game went a little bit long, I'm not gonna lie, so my Undying was found and destroyed before I got my first down with 3 generators left. Did I play perfectly? No. But half my build just doesn't work this game. I get someone on death hook and shoulder the burden shows up. Now I can't kill anybody at all. I get someone hooked near the end game, they're saved, and I hook their rescuer, an Ada, who I hadn't seen the entire game. Take a wild guess on what happens next after they open the gate. She uses Deliverance, and after the patch that updated borrowed time, she has a 15-second nah window where I literally cannot do anything. She walks out of the gate because she has 15 seconds of borrowed time for free. On self unhook in the endgame. I waited as long as humanly possible, and she still gets out. Why does it offer haste? Why does it offer borrowed time? And it's not like I could have prevented the Deliverance, since again, with the safe unhook conditions being made completely impossible to fail thanks to the base kit BT for 15 seconds. And it's odd that Deliverance hasn't been changed to reflect that. This Ada can farm her teammate right off hook, directly in my face, and against 90% of killers, Deliverance is going to get value no matter how well or how badly they play. Why? So many perks are like this with just insane design. We can talk about killer perk design in a bit, but I have the talking stick and I'm pressed about this, okay? Shoulder the Burden is objectively the most broken perk in the game. Genuinely. If you say that any killer perk comes close to it, at this point, it's a lack of knowledge on the game. That isn't a slight at anybody, but I have, again, 6,000 hours on Dead by Daylight. And the fact that this perk, Shoulder the Burden, has basically literally 0 downsides for a free get someone else off death hook is insane to me. Shoulder slaughters 99% of the killer roster for existing. Oh, the pig that's struggling because she has to manually break every pallet on Gideon's The Game finally got someone on death hook? No. The downside of Shoulder the Burden is that you'll be exposed for 40 seconds, right? Okay, that sounds like a fair trade-off. Except for the fact that Vigil exists. Vigil is a perk that lowers the duration of negative status effects. Okay, I mean, that sounds fine. It does it by 66% for everybody in a 16-meter radius around you. And it used to stack. What the existence of Vigil means is that in a majority of your matches as killer, at least one survivor will have it. Exhaustion perks will come back faster. Any debuff you apply will now clear significantly quicker. Hemorrhage, broken, blindness, even mangled, which has a timer now. Killers just get fucked by the existence of Vigil. There's no skill involved. You don't have to do anything to get value out of this perk, and you can just have it affect your entire team. Expose builds don't work. Anti-exhaustion builds don't work. Perks that are balanced around their time simply don't work. Freddy's power is deleted. Hinder for 4.5 seconds? No, it's 1.5 now. Nemesis hindering for 2 seconds to balance him being a 3-hit killer? No. It's 2/3 of a second now. 1 full second if you have add-ons specifically for that. Is that not crazy that you can just delete 2/3 of a killer's power by bringing a perk? Like, Survivor perks design have just been thoroughly dumbed down, but it's never like they've been hard to get value out of. The role in particular has some skill expression to it. I'm not denying that. I'm not delusional, but you can tell a 10-hour meg from a 10,000-hour one. But as far as perks go, or the amount of effort you have to put in to get value, is just laughable. I've been bringing it up because it's the most relevant one I can think of, but Deliverance, you just have to unhook a survivor. Almost impossible to not get it because of how easy safe unhooks are now, with 15 seconds of freaking borrowed time. Shoulder the burden, 40 seconds of exposed. So the killer has to not only be able to catch up to you, but they have to basic attack you, and that duration of exposed can be reduced by Vigil. Okay, sure. How about exhaustion perks? Vault a window, fall from a height, or literally just start running. Now, let's compare this on the other side of things to killer perks. Let's say pop. You have to find a survivor, chase a survivor, down a survivor, hook a survivor, find a generator that's worth using pop on before the limited time that pop is available, and then kick it, which can also be reduced by other things like blast mine, but I'm not like really complaining about blast mine. But just in general, there's like 6 different steps to things and perk strengths, and it's always like, why though? Now, let's say pain resonance. You have to find, chase, hope that there's a scourge in the area that you can actually use, and oh, there isn't? Get fucked, I guess. No perk value. And you only get 1 charge per unique survivor. That is completely fine, don't get me wrong. I understand the perk is strong, but people still complain about pain resonance in current day. It used to be 25 on every scourge. It was insane. If the one survivor you've used a scourge hook on is the only one dying and getting downed by the scourge hooks, well, that sucks. Boohoo, I guess. Unique charges. The most progressed generator is the one that a brand new part's been put into? Well, that sucks. You don't even get to choose which generator the scourge hits. Say goodbye to your pain res charge. Let's say you want to, I don't know, use something that prevents exhaustion perks from being used, like Languid Touch, Mindbreaker, etc. Vigil exists and is extremely popular. 1 Vigil on your team just removes your ability to use those perks in the game. I don't mind strong perks existing when they actually require you to do something to proc them. Why should you get rewarded for things you're just doing anyway? Like Bamboozle even. You're going to vault the window anyway. Now you just do it faster and it's blocked so they can't use it. But it's just like, oh, I'm getting chased. I should vault the window to get away. And now because of life, you're 30 feet extra away because of a loadout option. There was no outplay. There was no highlight reel. There was no mind game. It's literally just do the thing you're already doing, but better now. And a lot of the time it feels like BHVR just does not know how to balance their game, and it is strictly a lack of competition in the asymmetrical horror genre that is driving their success. For lack of a better comparison, it's kind of like Steam, and BHVR is just kind of like Luigi. A lot of players just don't know how to play the game because they have no drive to get better, as Survivor is a role that plays itself. Why learn how to loop when I can just put on Windows of Opportunity and Lithe, vault a window and have over a minute-long chase on average, because the average killer player is also bad. Even Quante Young's perk, 5 steps ahead, exacerbates the problem of Survivor just plays itself by making you even better at free looping. Just drop the pallet faster. And these same players, mind you, will complain about tunneling or disconnect on first down the second that they get outplayed. For me, this is especially noticeable, as the average Nemesis player isn't good. It's not an ego thing. He's a popular license played by loads of Resident Evil fans and not Dead by Daylight players, and not every single one of them has over 1,000 hours on the character, like me. So on average, it's like, oh, a Nemesis? That's a free out, probably. And there's this sort of vibe in the air that players only really like playing against things that have them win for free with 0 to little effort. It's like why a lot of Dead by Daylight players enjoy playing against the Cannibal, because the vast majority of players playing against them win because the average person playing the Cannibal is not good at it. So he's seen as kind of a bumbling buffoon, and they have to have only the slightest semblance of their brain power to use to play against the Bubba and win. Most of the time, they get out for free, and aside from, like, maybe one person if they get a hook in the basement, because you can't unhook in a Bubba's face. That's just, like, common knowledge at this point. But at least the game was fun, right? But the second they run into a good Bubba, a good Cannibal that plays the game to win, it's not fun anymore. Yeah, it always kind of has this thing where it comes back to us versus them. The Dead by Daylight community in general has an issue with competence on the other side. Loads of people only play one side and have no semblance of an idea why the other side does what they do. Why did you tunnel me, horceror? I was genuinely asked this question after a game that I won by the skin of my teeth. Let me paint you a picture. The map is Badham. If you play Killer, that should be enough of a picture. But just in case, I'll continue regardless. We are down to one generator, and I have nobody on Death Hook. I have 4 hooks in this game, equally spread out. So if I want to stand even some semblance of a chance of winning, somebody has to die, like right now. I hook a Nancy, she gets unhooked, and I go after her again, which inherently is also a risk for me, because she could have any number of perks to prevent this tunnel. She could have Off the Record, she could have Decisive Strike, the unhooker could have had Babysitter, Shoulder the Burden might make me end up taking this risk and make it completely pointless anyway, but none of this happens. I get really lucky, she has no perks to counter it, I down her, I pick her up, I kill her because I tunnel. I barely win this game because she dies, and then she asks in the endgame, why did you tunnel me? To me, this is an extremely obvious question with an extremely obvious answer. It's an open and shut case. Why did I do it? Because I actually want to win. And you are, at this point, the weak link. You are the only person contaminated, you're injured, you're on Death Hook, and nobody else is, like, worth chasing. Your teammates run to Shack. Like, I can't play that chase. I have to kill you. And why would I not go after you? It legitimately feels like a no-brainer, but if you don't play the other half of the game, maybe it's not obvious. Is it personal? Does the killer hate me? I mean, sometimes, maybe. Is the killer going out of your way to make your game worse? Again, sometimes, maybe. I'm not arguing against the players being vindictive sometimes. That's 100% something that happens. But the vast majority of the time that tunneling happens in a game, it's in a game where a killer is already struggling. If you have no pressure, if you have survivors with all 4 bodies on the field, and they aren't trying to help their teammate, if you get a kill, generators slow down. Progress slows down. Maybe you actually win the game. Take my own killer, for instance, the Nemesis. It's a very common question. Why does the Nemesis tunnel? The vast majority of players, as we've gone over, are not as good as they could be. We've already stated this. Nemesis is a killer that has to not hit you only 2 times, but 3, unlike the majority of the roster. So we've already talked about how Vigil is already a kick in the balls to this killer because you don't get the hinder decrease that you would usually have if they didn't have the perk. So you don't even get the compensation that you need to actually hit them 3 times. So why would I spread hooks when I have someone in 1 health state that's injured and contaminated when I have to hit the unhooker 3 times instead of 2? Or 1 if I go after the person that's already been unhooked. There isn't even really an option here. It is oftentimes simply the best play to be made. That doesn't make it a personal, I'm going out of my way to make sure somebody else has a bad game. It just means there is no incentivization to go after somebody else. And with the aggressive use of anti-tunnel perks or game mechanics, a good amount of the time, there isn't even a good reason to go after somebody else. You can just hop in a locker to force Decisive Strike. You can body block for your unhooker with Off the Record. Examples go on and on. The carrot and the stick. The issue is that BHVR balances strictly around the stick. You see this a lot when it comes to how they even talk about the game of Dead by Daylight. Like during streams where they were actively implementing the 15-second base get borrowed time. They were talking about, now you can be sure the killer won't come back to tunnel you, while the footage they used was the player actively using this extended time of protection to protect their teammate, turning defensive options into offensive weapons. It's a rot at this point, and I don't know how to actually fix things without drastic changes. The absolute closest we got to this during patch 9.2.0 were the killer being given actual incentives for going after different people. Killers would be given haste, information, etc. if they didn't tunnel. But of course, this was pushed back on by survivors because the loudest voices are oftentimes those that simply don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'm sorry, but with zero nuance in the community as to why these changes are being offered and why changes happen, the game has just been worsening over time. The power creep of survivor perks and the role as a whole has actively made their own game worse as well, because matches will feel more sweaty for survivors because the game is balanced around survivors. If you want to win as a killer now, you have to play significantly harder because the balance revolves around the sneaky killer being a wholesome chungus and not tunneling. Otherwise, you're a naughty boy that's just going to get punished by the plethora of perks, which, by the way, can be nearly wholly avoided by just not hooking. Slugging as a playstyle might annoy some survivors, but when you have 4 nuclear bombs in your pocket that activate strictly after you're unhooked, Why would a killer hook? There's no incentive to do so. Why would I give your teammate the option to get Deliverance? Why would I not just slug the whole game when I can get free pressure without the risk of a 15-second body block for free, with zero repercussions for their actions because they also have Decisive Strike and Sprint Burst? Why would I play to give survivors a good time when there's never a quid pro quo? Honest question. If you mainly play Survivor, how often do you see that the killer has one hook at one generator left and think, maybe we should stop doing the generator so that they also have a chance to have fun? Why does the killer player have to be the only one to worry about everyone's good time when there's no reciprocity going towards them as well? Playing killer doesn't feel like a power role. It feels like I'm an unpaid babysitter having to look after my cousin's 4 unruly kids, or keeping 4 large cats in a bathtub because you have to clean them, but they hiss and they scratch and get more slippery the more you try and keep them in the bath. And then, if every cat is not washed the exact same amount, one will call you a slur with zero repercussions. Because it's a cat. Dead by Daylight is a game that requires both roles to be played. You can't play killer without survivor, and vice versa. The game feeling horrible for one side is a slow spiral downwards into the death of the game. And while I don't think Dead by Daylight will ever truly die, when queue times start going upwards from 30 seconds to 5, 10, 15 minutes, it's going to severely cut into the retention rate. Crazy concept, I know, but when I queue up to play the game, I want to actually play it, not sit in a lobby for 10 minutes. And regardless of how the game goes, there's still a roughly 40% chance that someone will just give up. I hit a single whip, they disconnect. They run into a zombie, they disconnect. They get found first, they disconnect. It's generally laughable how quick people are to just quit if they get outplayed in any way, shape, or form. And BHVR doesn't help this by not offering any actual penalties for quitting, which is ironic considering the lack of addressing the cheating problem and having penalties strictly for being a naughty boy is the killer role. I could disconnect from my next 3 games with little to no penalty at all, and then it is just wiped away. Like, maybe you could take from Dota where there's like a low priority queue, and I think I would actually enjoy that a lot, where if you quit too much, you would get paired with other quitters, and you would have to actually play out games to get back to the normal queue. Why reward toxicity? Why reward people for not finishing their matches? At bare minimum, if you quit out, you shouldn't be able to queue again until the game you're in finishes. At this current point, the guy that quit gets off scot-free, while everyone else in the game they quit out of has to play an objectively worse match because the guy that quit threw a tantrum. I'm just tired, man. I love Dead by Daylight. It's why I even get frustrated about things like this, but I know it's a crazy concept. When I queue up for a game of anything, really, I expect everyone in the match to play the game that they press the play button on. There are extenuating circumstances, sure, obviously, like your cat setting fire to your carpet or something, but the vast majority are just players that are burnt out and refuse to play anything else because they're addicted. Maybe I'm one of them. I do feel like things can get better, just the wound has been festering for years. A band-aid here and there is not going to fix it. You need to actually do surgery to save the patient. Anyway, it's been Horse. Nerf brainless play, reward skill instead of perks, and make the nurse affected by the blindness status effect when she uses her blink. Do you have any ideas for how you would fix DBD? Because, man, I hope BHVR takes some of them. I am just kind of tired of queuing up my games, and then there is more than a 40% chance that someone will just quit. It's not fun. Dead by Daylight might not die from decisions made, but unless the community gets better or there's something done about the behaviors done by behavior, then the game will die because there's no one to die because it's just bots. Maybe a bad analogy, but thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.